Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. This episode, so you bought your first home. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help you save time, money, and aggravation. This edition's entitled, So You Bought Your First Home. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy John. John, what's been going on this week?
Well, not a whole lot. I've actually put up a couple new lights down here at the studio.
The studio, that's right.
That's right.
From Milton, Georgia, in John's basement.
Right. Put up some new cabinet lights. But anyways, that's really what's been going on.
Well, that's pretty exciting.
Not really,
right?
But thanks for saying.
But thanks for saying. That's right. But so we wanted to start off. We're gonna take a departure from what our normal thing is, and this comes about in that I've been having a conversation online with one of our listeners. So we're gonna start our show off with questions from the email bag at handymanprosradioshow.com. So this is not how we normally do this, but this is one that, and you'll understand in a minute about so you bought your first home, and this question comes, again, it's questions at handymanprosradioshow.com. We received an email from Chad Matthew. Chad had a question about his HVAC or HVAC, his heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system. He lives in a cold climate, and he's actually having an airflow problem. His furnace works, but his rooms, he's got cold spots in his house, is what it is. And so he interacted with me via email, and so we've brought it out, and so we're going to give a quick answer to this. John, you want to give the quick answer to this?
Well, I've actually had a problem like this in the past, but now what's happened to my situation was I got these, the ductwork is these insulated bags,
right?
Okay, and they actually got pinched over time from the way they were suspended against the ceilings and things like that in the basement. So
airflow was restricted.
Airflow was very restricted, and I had to resuspend a couple of them to open them up. Now, I don't know exactly the details of this gentleman's issue, but that is something to look for.
Well, Chad told me that he had an HVAC contractor coming out to take a look, which was good because it's tough for us to give a good question on that. But this is where it lends into the show. So Chad told me he said that he's a first-time home buyer. I asked him, I said, "Is there any more information that you would like?" And he's basically said everything. Mm-hmm. So when we got into it and I started thinking about it, we decided to do a show. John and I had some discussion. We decided to do a show on what to expect, or what as a first-time home buyer, what are some things, some tips that you need to know about? What are some of the things that are going on?
Exactly, and let me just set the stage. In my case, I remember when I bought my first home and I moved in, and it is a departure from renting an apartment.
It is. Because
now it's all you, and
you become the property manager.
You become everybody.
Chief cook, bottle washer, and toilet plunger.
That's right. And
maintenance man, janitor, everything.
Everything. So you kind of sit back, and so you find yourself saying, now what?
The old now what?
And now what? Right. So
we thought we'd break this out into we actually wrote this one up because, sometimes we wing it here at the Handyman Pros Radio Show. I'm not going to tell you that's really the truth, but it's the truth. So we wrote it out. We were actually talking about expectations, right? So everybody has a different set of expectations when they get into a house. And of course, as you know, each house is different. So if you're moving into new construction, you have a little bit different set of concerns than you do if you're moving into a house that's 150 years old. But there are some general tenets that we were thinking about across the board, right, John?
Yes, and that was really setting the expectations of when you kind of answer that question of now what. Things like you're going to be looking at things that you really haven't been involved with as much is the utilities, local government,
utilities, HOA,
and without going into any
gruesome stories would be the right answer.
Stories about that. There you go. These are the kind of things you need to consider and just prepare yourself for.
Right. Right. Our goal with this show is to prepare you so that you don't get caught off guard with things that are going to happen that are inevitable. They're going to happen in your house no matter what. At some time or another, you're going to have an issue with some of your utilities. I mean, we have multiple times in our careers, right? Mm-hmm. Over the years, between the water and the sewer, between water, sewer, septic, whatever. There's always problems that happen with local utilities or power goes out. We actually had half our power leg go out at our house over the summer, and so we had to deal with utilities, obviously, but we lost 220 power, which basically half the house lit and half the house didn't. It was kind of bizarre, actually, but come to find out, it's the wire was underground, and it just had corroded away and broken.
Right, and this is this is a departure a little bit from renting. I know that if you rent an apartment, you probably go out and get your utilities at some point, but now that all those utilities are running through your property. Correct. And that's a good point, because that does bring up that you should be aware of where all this activity is taking place around your house.
Oh, come on. Just shove the shovel right there into the
Yeah, we'll talk about that at some other point, but that's right.
But so that's one of the things. Local government is another one, John, right? I mean, if you ever, how do we want to say this? If you ever want to do an addition, or you want to add something, or you want to, it depends on your municipality, right? So John lives in Milton, Georgia, and it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Milton, Georgia is rather restrictive. Is that true?
Very restrictive, actually.
Yeah.
Very restrictive. So they think pretty highly of themselves. And, if you want to cut down a tree, they want to know about it. And, as you see, we got a jillion trees. These are the kind of things from a local government perspective. You brought up a good point here, is that you need to know what your limitations are before you go doing those kind of things.
Yes. Very much so. Because, you might think, right, as a first-time homebuyer, well, it's my property. I can do really whatever I want, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, as long as it's legal. And nobody really considers cutting a tree down to be illegal, particularly if it's dead.
Right. Or quote unquote diseased.
Diseased, yes, right. I mean, and John, and that actually trees do get that way.
That's absolutely true.
And
with all the trees that we have around here, like I said, you kind of toe the line on some of this stuff.
Well, or you do midnight tree service.
But come on now.
But you do have to have you have to have a bit of an appreciation for what your requirements are for local government. I'm going to use another example. If you need to put a new hot water heater in.
Well, that's another good one. Yep.
In most municipalities, you need to pull a permit for that. Now, a building permit. Now, I don't know anybody that does, but letter of the law.
Yep. If you go down, I know I went down to Lowe's to get a new water heater, and I was told about it. So, anyways,
but it looks great in your house. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I just have it sitting up against the wall now. It just looks.
I just bought it. And set it in my house. Yeah, it's just there. It's a new coffee table.
Yeah.
You don't never know what happened to the old one. By the way, where'd the old one go?
Hang my T-shirts on.
Yeah, there you go. So, but our point is that there's a certain amount of local governments that do, and different municipalities are different. So here in the greater Atlanta area, I mean, I just know. So from my handyman side, right, there's certain towns that basically, if there's any kind of like work that I have to do, I won't do it in that town because it's too restrictive. I mean, they're crazy over the top. And then there's other towns that it's like, whatever, do what you want to do. So just something to be aware of, right? Don't have an expectation that because you own the property that you can do whatever you want on it.
Right. And you need to know where to go find out this information as well.
So give a tip on that. Where do you go?
Well, you can go to the county.
Okay.
You can go to your local municipalities too, and they'll tell you. That's where you can go get some building codes and things like that. But the next topic that we have here will also tell you what you can and
can't do as well.
Can and can't do it.
We'll call that a different form of local government. Right. But so usually there's a couple of different places that have jurisdiction over your property, right? There's the state, there's actually the federal, there's the state, there is the county. And there usually is, if you live in a city, an incorporated, I guess incorporated, unincorporated, but the city also might have their own particular rules. Yeah. So, for example, that's why I say, like in my case, in some of the handyman jobs that I do, like I won't work in particular towns if they require a permit, because it's actually the city. The city is the one that makes the rules, not the county. They don't care, but the city is very, very restrictive. So just be aware of that, folks. It's just something to be aware of, right?
Absolutely.
And they will inspect that, and they will fine you, by the way.
Yeah.
Not that I know.
You just don't want yeah. We're not going to get into building decks and things like that. But, for the first time home buyer.
Looks good, though. Stone wall looks good, though. You got to
that does. Yeah. That does look good. But, for the first time home buyer, these are the kind of things that you really need to be aware of.
Just aware of it.
Aware of it, so you can keep yourself, keep yourself in less aggravated.
Sane is the correct word. Yeah. So you want to keep yourself. So there's one other thing here. At least we have many of them around here, and I know that this regionally might not be a big deal, but it is here in the greater Atlanta area, and that is the Homeowners Association, or HOA.
Yeah. My first knee jerk on anything like that is stay off those boards. But
our point is that it is another governing body, somewhat governing body, that can impose or can do things that can make basically they, depending on how it's written, and you need to read it at the time of closing and stuff like that. It's really very thrilling to read, but it's like if you live in a condo or something, for sure they've got strong HOAs, right? Mm-hmm. So there's things you can do and things you can't do. So you need to be aware. You need to read the document and understand what you can do and what you can't do, because they actually can impose levies and fines on you.
Right. And as a first-time home buyer, you want to go out and you kind of stretch out a little bit. You got some elbow room now. You've got your first home. You've got a little bit of property, and you think hey, maybe I want to put a shed back here. Be careful.
Yeah, be careful.
Be careful what you do with that, and all those kind of things.
Yeah, and so that goes back to the previous thing, was that local utilities can say that, but your HOA also can have a say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You might not even be able to park a trailer in your driveway.
Oh, that's absolutely true. So if you're a first time home buyer and you have a boat, so let's say on a trailer,
correct. I'm going to do away with that storage bill. I'm going to bring my boat to the house.
Yeah. No, you're not.
No, you're not. Not necessarily. Not
necessarily.
Not necessarily. So. Yeah, so that's it. One of the other expectations that, John, that you and I talked about is that this has to do with the home inspection, and actually almost everybody gets a home inspection today. I don't know, unless you're doing a cash deal, you're almost every home. If you're a first-time home buyer, you need to have a home inspection.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And that's going to be one of our guests that's going to be on in an upcoming episode here. But you're absolutely right. Get the home inspection and read it carefully. Know what he or she is saying about your place. And
these are thrilling documents to read.
Well, this is from the perspective of, this is your first start at kind of getting a baseline on your home.
Exactly.
Okay, so now you've got something to go off. Now, when I say baseline, it can be brand new appliances, or it can be used appliances, and what condition are they in, how old they are, and as we talked about before, now's the time to start to think about planning.
Planning, yes.
If those appliances that you have moved into are going to go.
Right. And on that home inspection, so, the safety issues and things generally are already fixed at the time of closing, because most people won't buy houses with blatant safe, like outlets coming out of the wall and things like that. Right. So those things generally get fixed.
Most cases.
Yeah. Well, true. That's actually true. Right. In most cases, those things get fixed. It brings up a different thing. I'll bring this up later, but brings up a different thought. But those kinds of things generally get fixed. Unless you're just negotiating a deal out, right? And that's fine. But there's other things, and back to the appliance thing, right? So if you look on the home inspection sheet, and he has your refrigerator is 13 years old, what's your opinion on that, John?
Well, 13 years old, Heck,
it's getting ready to die.
It's getting ready now. In my case, that's it's half its life. Because I keep fixing it. But honestly, for most people, 13 years old is getting up there.
Yeah, it's getting up there, and in general, so we are in the process of working on a document for our website that will have the expected life of the items in your home, and that's pretty comprehensive. Everything from the foundation all the way up to the roof to the appliances and things. And in my initial research, what I found is that the average refrigerator lasts 13 years. That's the average right now. Mm-hmm. Dishwashers are around 9 years. So if you have a 9-year-old dishwasher, you from a planning standpoint, you need to understand that it might not be around forever.
Yeah.
John, you and I, we've done plenty of jobs where we've replaced sink faucets, right?
Right.
And what is generally what's the age range on that, and what's the reason as we replace the faucets? We've talked about it before, but let's talk about it again.
So it's a lot of style.
Really. A lot of it is style.
It's been driven by style, by modern styling and things like that, where you just want to get rid of it.
The gaskets are going to last about 10 years.
Yeah, I mean you got about 10 now. Some of the new ones, they might go on for a long time, but by the time you get to fix, we've talked about this before, just replace them. Because the style's going to change. Yeah. They're not, sky's the limit on these things, but in most cases, you can put out the money to get a new faucet. You're all set to go. You got new styling, and you're probably going to want to do that anyway. So, 10 years on a faucet, 12 years.
And unless you're doing the work yourself, it's going to cost you just as much to repair the old one as it is to install the new one.
That's absolutely correct.
So it's a catch-22, right? If you want to call it that.
Right.
So that's just, but we want to. It's kind of funny because I had a person that lived in New York City, and they came in and says my first house, and I've lived in an apartment my whole life, and we were actually changing out his sink, and so he goes. And he says to me, he goes, I thought those things lasted forever. I'm like, no, no, they don't.
No.
No, they don't. So another one of the reasons why we're actually doing this show. So that's the home inspection, right? And the other things in that home inspection, remember that home inspection it's pretty long usually.
It's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, they're about 30 pages.
Yeah.
Read and understand all of those systems that are in there. If you don't understand about your heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system, go online and just look up a basic idea of how it works. What does it do?
That's a great tip. If you don't know what you're reading in that home inspection, do some work in the background there and get yourself educated.
Yeah, because it's all available.
Correct.
All of it. I mean, there's no magic to home ownership anymore. I mean, we've got reams of data, and even YouTube is a huge resource for a lot of do-it-yourself stuff. So I guess the question is, sometimes you have to make the decision: do you do it yourself, or do you replace it, or do you have a professional replace it? And I guess it depends on your level of skill and your level of context. I personally don't do water heaters, just as a thing. Could I? Yes, but I don't. Just because I just don't. I don't like soldering, to be honest. That's really the biggest thing. So, and I work as a professional handyman, so plus I'm not pulling a permit. But those are things, everybody's got different levels and skill levels, and go out there and look and find. There's plenty of resources available online to do almost any of these projects. Now, some of them you might say, nope, not doing that one. That's okay. Electricity tends to be that way. Everybody's afraid they're going to get electrocuted. I was okay until they hit me, over and over again with the electroshock therapy. But I'm feeling much better now, as long as I stay on my meds.
Right, Jack Nicholson. Kind of moving on from that, from the home inspection, and now you kind of find yourself as you've got this report, you've got a nice new house, or it's an older house, but you just moved into it, and you look around and you want to do some things, and you don't have
tools
to do it. In most cases, because when I was living in an apartment, now I was a professional mechanic, so I had tools, but not the kind of tools I needed for the home, right?
Right.
Shovels, picks, rakes, going from the outside inside.
Wood saws,
all that kind of stuff. So,
so we've done shows on that already. And so we won't rehash that. But again, from a planning standpoint, you need to understand you need some tools. We did talk a little bit about saving some money on the DIY, right? Because now you are the property manager, right?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Yeah. So you have, if you have a house, for example, and you have a yard, guess who's now in charge of the yard?
You are.
You are. Surprise. If you have a fence, guess who's in charge of the fence? You are. So all of these things, and some of these things are very simple. You like cutting your grass is really not a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. Actually, I call it the free healthcare program because you get out and get a little exercise. But you make life is about choices. You can have it done if you want. But anyway, there's ways to save money. We have already talked a lot about some of the limited knowledge that you have as a first-time home buyer, right? So you don't know what you don't know.
Right. So that's why you want to listen to shows like this to bring yourself up to speed.
That's correct, and to get a couple of laughs. We hope in the meantime. Mm-hmm. So along with that, we've already discussed a lot of things about like maintenance folders and things like that, but getting matching paint colors and getting the codes and get yourself organized, get yourself to where you've got the thing. We did want to touch on ladders. If you don't have a ladder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you don't have a ladder, get yourself a multi-ladder if you don't have one.
Yeah, and so
because they are the bomb. Actually, they're great. They're great to have, and I will tell you where. I've got. We both have the same one.
Yep, we sure do.
It's a 22-foot ladder, but you can stick it in the back of your car. Actually, I mean, it's a really cool.
It gets
thing.
Small,
and it gets small.
But
it's a
22-foot extension ladder. It's a 13-foot step ladder.
Yeah.
It also will do very cool things if you're trying to hang pictures on the stairwells.
Or fixing lights that are hanging down in your stairwell.
Yeah.
Because you will not, believe me, you will not be able to get to those lights without something like this.
Absolutely.
Or you'll look like the Flying Walendas on something, where you've got to rig it up with chairs and everything, and it's a real mess. So don't put yourself through that.
Yeah, and basically you buy one ladder and you end up with it. You've got it all covered.
Right.
You've got it all covered. Now, I will say too that you might supplement that with like a folding stool or something for inside, like it's 2 steps. Just like if you need to just get up 2 steps, you don't want to drag the ladder.
Correct.
Out,
because to be fair, some of these multi ladders are pretty heavy.
They're heavy,
but they're safe.
They're safe. Oh yeah, they're safe, and they're so versatile. I mean, we use them. We use them in our business. I mean, we even use them to make scaffolding. You take 2 of them, you put a board between them, and you can make scaffolding. I mean, they're really, really great. And I would suggest nobody buys anything else anymore. Don't buy a step ladder. You don't need it. Buy a multi-ladder. You won't spend that. It really won't. I don't think you'll spend any more money. I don't think it's any more money. I think they're very, very comparable in price. Anyway, with that said, we've also talked a little bit about lawnmowers, and we've talked about everything from appliances to whatever. Is there anything else that comes to mind, John?
Not really. Not for this episode, really, because we kind of don't want to drill down too far on one particular thing, but I think everybody out there that's gone through the first time home buyer, it's a life changer. It really, I mean, you're going to find yourself doing all kinds of things that you never thought you would be doing.
Exactly.
But it's a great experience.
It's a great experience. So we hope this has been helpful. Again, if you have any questions, please go to the website. It's handymanprosradioshow.com and just hit the contact us button. We do have a newsletter as well, so if you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, we'll be sending out tips and tricks, things like that for our newsletter. So that's new for season 2. And but all that's available at handymanprosradioshow.com. It's time for the Handyman Pros Radio Show Tip of the Week.
All right, Tip of the Week. Larry,
yes.
One of the things, are you there?
I am.
Hello, Larry. One of the things, Larry, that always had got me was that, after, in the shower, there's a lot of water hanging around in that place after you get done in the shower.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So is your shower made of tile by chance?
It is.
Ah.
It is made of it, and you shouldn't have to worry about the water hanging around there. However, right, you have all kinds of, I don't like all the water just hanging there.
Well, it's more the fact that the water causes that soap scum and gunk, that black gunk, to collect at the bottom of the shower, right? And also it makes your grout lines on the floor of your shower dirty.
Yes.
Do you like to clean?
No.
Not
at all.
And that stuff takes, how do you get that stuff off?
With a sledgehammer.
No, you scrub hard, right?
Yeah.
You scrub hard.
Right.
So the tip of the week is this. This came to me from an old tile guy named Eric Massey, and he's a fantastic tile guy. So Eric was telling me, he goes, you said, you know what you get? And I said, no. He goes, you get yourself a squeegee. And he said, every time when you shower, he said, do two things. There's two things you can do to stop these problems. He says, you squeegee the water down, right, off the tile, just like you're squeegeeing glass, whatever, and you just squeegee that thing down. You squeegee all the water down off the walls, go all the way down to the bottom, and then squeegee all the water into the drain, right?
Yep.
Kind of simple. Then the other thing he said is leave the door open so the air flows around there and dries the thing out.
Yes.
So we started doing that, and I have to tell you, every day I get in there and we won't give you the visual on that, but anyway, we have not had that black gunk. It now went from cleaning once a week to about cleaning every about 2 months since we instituted that.
And I've been doing the exact same thing for years now, and I agree with you 100%.
So the tip of the week is, if you have a tile shower, get yourself a squeegee and squeegee the water off of it every time after you shower, and leave the door open so it dries out.
And there you go, folks. Tip of the week.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.